Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. Today's video, surprise, surprise, is going to be a rambling one, so it'll just be my face talking. So if you hate my face, it's all good. Listen on headphones or just make dinner while you're listening, whatever, because it's going to be talking kind of podcast format. So I've had a lot of questions from this Toyota trip that I did, 3-video series, very fun, very cool, I thought. But I had questions, all kinds of questions, email, DMs, comments, whatever, asking about like what was the trip, what's my relationship with Toyota, all the way to like how did I like the Supercharger. So I'm going to be answering all of that stuff in this video, kind of just an after trip report, so to speak. And then I figured that would be kind of a waste of a video, so I'm going to be talking about some other stuff as well, some future projects I got going on, some stuff I'm doing with the channel. Looking for feedback from you guys. I'm kind of weird in that sense on YouTube, where I'm like really curious to what you guys want to see on the channel, because my channel, as a lot of you guys know from the beginning, has been kind of an evolutionary process in that it's a lot of preparedness, survival stuff, but now it's kind of a little more adventure, and it's always been talking about gear. And from the beginning, even like when I had 100 subscribers and I made a logo, my friend Gabe Tam made my logo. It's a shield with mountains, because I love the outdoors and I love kind of being prepared. So LLOD, last line of defense, that's what it all was. So still, I'm very much in the vein of my channel, though it always evolves with my personal interests and what people like watching, and when those can coincide, when they can collide, that's the best for me. So I'd love some feedback as well. And then if I figure out how to do those timestamps, you know, where you put it in the video description and you can click it and it like goes to the right point, I'll just Google it and figure it out. But I'll add some timestamps to this video as well, so you can watch what you're interested in, so to speak. And then there is another video, I'll probably talk about it later, but one of the main questions I get asked like all the time is, how do you afford all this stuff? And that's like the nice version. The more mean or jealous or whatever version is like, must be nice, daddy's money, trust fund, baby, all that kind of stuff. I don't have a trust fund, I don't have anything, my parents weren't rich. So I kind of want to do a video talking about like my businesses, like how I make money, honestly, how I form relationships with companies, how that looks, what the structure is, how I maintain not being a shill or being bought out and having my own opinion and doing whatever I want while working with all these companies. How do I do it? Because I have a very unique thing going on in that realm. So I'll probably do a video on that, but I'm wondering if you're interested in that. I know people are interested in, you know, did I win the lottery or something like that, but I'd rather just do a video outlining what I actually do. So if you're interested in that video, chime in down below. Okay, big long intro. What are we, like a 3-minute intro. So this Toyota thing, a question that I've been asked a lot via email actually is like, how'd you get a Toyota sponsorship? So I'm not sponsored by Toyota. They're not sponsoring me. I'm not like a Toyota athlete or influencer or anything like that. This project I did for them was really a one-off thing, much like companies, oh, this video is brought to you by yada, yada, yada. It's similar to that type of sponsorship, but in a bigger, better, cooler way, obviously. So that was kind of a one and done thing, though maybe it'll turn into future things, you know, moving forward, because I had a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to lay out kind of how that happened, how it came to pass, so to speak, and hopefully I can talk about this stuff. But anyways, Toyota has a marketing department, and this is kind of how I think it works. Don't quote me on this, but they think of ideas or whatever, and they work with a bunch of creative agencies. So one of the agencies they work with is Sweatpants Media. Sweatpants Media has a kind of sister company called Encampment, and they were engaged in some sense to do this video, the videos that you saw. And so someone somewhere thought I would be a good candidate for it to kind of represent that Tacoma and that trip as the overland off-road guy. So they landed on me there, and then they wanted to do a chef. They wanted to do some cooking stuff because camping and off-roading and cooking is pretty popular. So they got Adam Glick, who, really cool guy, we got along really well, and a lot of people asked, is that from this TV show, or is he on Below Deck? Yes, he was on a couple TV shows, cooking chef TV shows, super into the outdoors, and really like camps and does all that kind of stuff a ton. So he's really kind of in the overland scene as well, but he's a professional chef, I guess. So they landed on me, pitched me this idea, and I didn't really grasp what it was. At first I was like, is this like a commercial, or do you want to use my Tacoma or whatnot? Is it gonna, or am I me, or am I like acting like someone else? Anyway, I was kind of confused at first, but eventually it was just like, listen, like, we like your Weekender Lander series, essentially, and we want to do like a very high production quality camera crew, full crew, director of photography and producer and all this stuff, like a full-on shoot. So we want to kind of recreate a Weekender Lander, but do it, in a high production value way. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. Yeah, I'd be into it. So the whole trip was like, there was no scripts, there was no agenda. It was just like, they picked out a couple locations, and Adam and I got together and just talked about whatever we want to talk about every morning, or actually kind of the night before. We were like, okay, what do we want to cook? What do we want the meal tomorrow to be? That's why it was like pizza and tacos and that kind of stuff, because I actually basically chose the meals that Adam wanted to cook. So everything you saw in there was like, nothing was scripted. It was very much like, there was a lot of comments about this, like, oh, that was really cool, because it wasn't like you were trying to shove a brand or a product or anything down our throats. And that was kind of the intention. Like, yeah, we drove around in Tacoma, but I already drive around in Tacoma all the time. So it was just as natural as it could be. For me, like, some people said like, oh, you kind of look pissed off or annoyed or whatever. And I noticed that as well. Like, I feel really bad about it, because I had such a blast out here. Like, a lot of the dudes on the filming team are into this kind of stuff, or they're extreme sports athletes or whatever. Some of the dudes, Andy Bell, especially, like Nitro Circus guys, and Ethan. And it was just, I had a great time, and I got along really well with Adam. So it's like, I was kind of bummed that I came across as not having a good time, because I was having a good time the whole time. But what I realized is that when I make videos, I'm holding the camera, I'm talking to the camera. Really, you never see me just like standing there, because I'm always the one filming and talking, like it's my show. But here it's like they had a lot of B-roll of us walking, or me like standing there while Adam was explaining something. And I think my face is just like not, I just don't have a very happy looking face, I guess, when I'm standing there. I don't know. I'll work on it if we do this stuff in the future. But that was the thing. Like, was I annoyed? Yada, yada. I was not annoyed at all. I just think I have, they call it resting bee face, and I must have that. So sorry. So that's kind of how that went down. I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I wish the videos were a little bit longer. I wish I was a little bit better on camera, because it was more of like, it was more reality TV and less vlog, and I'm not used to that. Adam's been on a bunch of reality TV. He's probably had people that coach him how to do, and then he's had feedback, and he's watched the show and he's learned from it. So he was much better on camera in that sense than I was. So that's something I could work on. I mean, I don't plan on being on reality TV or anything, but if any of these kind of things come up in the future, hopefully I can do better with them. So anyways, then we move on to the truck specifically. So the truck was built for 4-wheel drive Toyota Owners Magazine, or they helped build. I don't really know how it worked. Toyota, I think, kind of like sponsored it, and they kind of chose the parts and worked with the I don't really know. It was an alright build. I think my Tacoma is sicker than that Tacoma, obviously, but that Tacoma did have some things that mine doesn't have, like a supercharger. So I think like there was a lot of stuff on that truck that my truck already has. So you've heard the feedback on it, and you already know what I like and what I don't like, and I've modded my truck and changed this and changed that. So you guys didn't seem to have too many questions on that, because you are very intimately familiar with my Tacoma already. But the main question that people asked was, how did you like that supercharger? How'd you like that supercharger? And the truck was a TRD Pro. It was either a 20 or a 21. I'm not really sure, but not a whole lot has changed. It's very similar to my truck. A little bit nicer, some better creature comforts, but pretty much the same. And I didn't drive this truck like cross country or whatever. We basically woke up in the morning, we drove to the trail, and I did 100% of the driving. So there's not any video of anybody else drive. I don't really remember. I don't think anybody else drove the truck at all. So everything was me driving the truck. So I drove the truck quite a bit. So I have a pretty good handle on it. Suspension was Camberg and Toy Tech, and it was okay. My suspension is Fox suspension on my truck. I've probably tweaked it and tuned it a little more. That truck needed a body mount chop, so we were rubbing our tires all over the place. The tires were much smaller on that than on mine, but it did have a supercharger and it didn't have gears. So those were kind of the questions. It wasn't geared. How's the supercharger? So the supercharger was a Magnuson supercharger, and it doesn't like, it's not a, I wouldn't call it a game changer. I think the Tacoma is a little bit underpowered. I think the gearing is a little weird, but did the supercharger make it feel like a new beast altogether? Was it worth it? And I'll get into worth it in a second because I don't like when people ask if something's worth it. So the supercharger, was it life-changing? It was not life-changing, honestly. Did I notice the extra power? Yes. Did I notice the supercharger whine? Yes. Did I like it? Yes. Did fuel economy take a hit? Yes. So there are some very concrete things. Does it provide more power? Yes, obviously. How does it affect the longevity of the truck? Does it burn through the transmission? I don't know. I think it's a relatively new system, so I think some of those are to be determined. Would I like one on my truck? If Magnuson said, hey, let's toss one on your truck, I would probably take it because I like to test stuff and I'm curious about that stuff and I could always go for more power. But would I drop like 8K on it of personal funds? I'm not planning to, if that helps, but I did like it. And then so people ask, was it worth it? Is the supercharger worth it? And I get this question a lot. Are those lights worth it? Is that refrigerator worth it? And I've done some videos on the past with really expensive stuff saying, is it worth it? And I hate that. I hate it. You can ask me, is it a good value? Is it a good deal? That kind of stuff, because I think I can answer that. Is it worth it? I can't answer that for you. I can only answer that for me. Worth, inherently, if a product is for sale and that product is selling and the company is in business and it's not like they're not bankrupt or they're not some weird scheme, if that's a company and they're selling a product at that price point, inherently that product is worth it. 100 of the products for sale are worth it because people are buying them. Otherwise that product wouldn't exist. Otherwise that company would not be in business. So the answer to is it worth it is always yes, it is worth it. Technically, factually, scientifically, however you want to cut it, is it worth it? Yes. Is it worth it for you? I have no idea. Are you making 500K a year? Are you making 10K a year? How important is power? What other mods do you have? What's the importance of your truck? Do you want to do this feature? Or do you want that feature? I can't answer is it worth it. I will never answer is it worth it. You'll almost never hear me talk about is it worth it, because that is a very personal thing. So I get a lot of questions about a lot of stuff. Is it worth it? No idea if it's worth it. For me, $8,000 supercharger probably isn't worth it for me personally, but I'm different than you. So it might be worth it for you. Don't know. So yeah, the trip, again, it was super cool working with the dudes at Sweatpants, Andy Bell, and there's like 12 other people there, so I'm not going to go through and name them all. All you guys rock. I had a lot of fun. I linked to and showed like everyone that was involved. All of them were really great to work with. I would love to work with any of them again. So that was fun. I didn't have a whole lot of conversation with the Toyota people specifically. It was kind of an odd shoot. COVID's going around. There's limitations to how many people can be on BLM land. We did have a BLM escort the whole time, so everything we did, the BLM guy was there saying, yes, you can do that, no, don't do that, whatever. There was not really any issues, other than I didn't really like going through the mud that much because I know it's not really good for the trail, but the BLM guy was like, yeah, it's all good to go. So we did hit that, even though I was like, kind of questionable. We had a BLM escort and we were limited to, I think, like 12 people or 10 crew or something like that. So normally there'd be people from Toyota out there and this and that and whatever, but we were regulated in that we couldn't have many people. I since talked to a couple people at Toyota and, I was like, oh, it was great. And they're like, oh, we loved it and all that kind of stuff. So could I do stuff in the future with Toyota? It's a possibility for sure. I'm not sponsored by Toyota. I own 4 Toyotas right now that I bought personally. But I like a lot of stuff that I'm really interested in Bronco. I think Tesla's doing cool stuff. I'm gonna have, probably 1 week from today, I'm gonna have an F-250 Tremor off-road. So I'll make a whole video about that, but it's gonna be very cool. I'm gonna build this F-250 Tremor. It's going to be basically a big version of my Tacoma. It's going to be amazing. We're going to wrap it multicam black, and then I'm going to give it away in about a year. So I'm going to raise money for charities of my choosing, and we're going to like raffle it off or something. I'll talk more in a future video, but I'm building a sick F-250 Tremor that you could own in a year probably. So super excited about that. So could I be sponsored by Toyota at some point? I don't know. I personally would love it. I love working with brands. How my sponsorships have worked in the past, and I'm sponsored by some companies. I have some ongoing sponsors. In the beginning of all of my videos, I show my five premier level sponsors. Those companies are actually giving me money. But the really cool thing about my sponsorships that's very non-standard on my channel is that I don't have any. With any of those companies, I have explicitly stated I can still show their competitors' products. I can use their competitors' products. I'm not locked into anything. I don't have to use this or use that or make this amount of posts or have that much stuff in every video. I don't have anything like that. Really, they're buying the logo and they're buying a relationship. So these companies get a direct relationship with me. They get to get product in my hands. I get to, if I like it, I use it. If I don't like it, I don't use it. But my relationship with companies has been really cool in that I help a lot of these companies with product design and testing and beta testing, and they talk to me actually. So a lot of these companies talk to me because they value my insight or my input. So when I work with a company in a professional capacity, I'm adding value to that company, my personal value from all of the feedback of all of the products that I've tested, and I'm adding value to this company. So any company that works with me is getting a great deal, right? If you're a company who want to work with me. And I'm essentially helping them design or create better products that I personally would like, but that I know that a lot of people would like, because I touch a lot of people. I get feedback from a lot of people. I try a lot of gear. So someone like Toyota is obviously a big brand, or Ford. Maybe I would want to work with Ford. They're like a big brand, and I probably wouldn't have much say in the product development life cycle. But you start somewhere and you work your way up. So my fascination with working with companies, I've always had a fascination with working with companies. Not because I want to get rich and become a sellout and be a pawn, because I want to add value to these companies. I want to do cool stuff. So if I worked with like a Toyota or a Ford or whatever, maybe I wouldn't have much say. Well, I definitely wouldn't have much say in like what the next gen Tacoma would be, or the Bronco even. But what I would have a say in is like how some of this stuff is marketed, some of the use cases of these things, and that eventually would be an evolutionary process to a final product down the road somewhere. So that stuff really, really fascinates me, and that's just kind of a long-winded explanation of how I'm feeling personally. If you see me working with these bigger brands, it's not because I'm trying to sell out or make a bunch of money. Money's dope, but I would rather have cool relationships and do cool stuff with companies that maybe aren't doing as cool stuff as they could be doing. Because again, the video I talked about earlier, like my business model, how I afford all this stuff, whatever, I have a very diversified income portfolio. I'm not reliant on a Toyota or a Ford or whatever to keep me afloat. So I don't need these companies financially, but I want these relationships with these companies because these companies have giant reach and abilities to kind of influence markets. And when I work with a company, I then kind of have the ability to help influence a market. So I've probably talked about that enough, but that is my interest in working with bigger companies. So yeah, a little bit of feedback on the Tacoma, a little bit of feedback on the trip, but also I want to be transparent with you guys and always tell you kind of what I got going on and why and the choices that I'm making. And I hope you always know, because I get comments all the time, and a lot of people that like actually watch my videos, like I'm a very real person. Like I don't benefit being non-real. I'm not an actor. I'm not a celebrity. I'm a dude that sometimes points a camera at myself, usually holding it. Sometimes I'll put it on a tripod, and I'm just talking to you guys. But the purpose of my channel has always been kind of educational and information. I started my channel to give people information on how to be prepared. I kind of transferred towards vehicle preparedness, and naturally my lifestyle, as I'm an outdoorsman, I like doing stuff, I like camping, I like trucks. It's kind of evolved in that area. So I'm an honest, open person, and the fact that my channel is growing and the fact that I'm working with these bigger companies isn't going to turn me into some shill or something like that. Because again, it doesn't benefit me long term to shill for a company. There are no companies that are going to pay me enough to shill for them, honestly. So at the very beginning of every relationship I make, if I have a sponsorship type relationship, the relationship is always, listen, I'm going to say what I want to say. And if that means ending a sponsorship to be able to say what I want to say, honestly, I'm very fine with that. There were some comments, I put an Instagram post, and there's some comments about people like, oh, well, you're always going to say good stuff because you're not going to bite the hand that feeds you, right? But I'm getting fed right now by hundreds of hands. My own hands, I have a holster company that helps support what I'm doing. I have affiliate marketing. I have YouTube ad revenue. The vast bulk of my income comes from all of these crazy different sources that are brand agnostic. It does not benefit any of those businesses to make myself appear that I'm a shill for a brand or whatever. So there's no hand that feeds me that I'm not afraid to bite, because I'm getting food from all over the place. Little bits of food from all over. So I want you guys to know that. But to close this video out, I want feedback from you guys. If you were just like, man, I hate your videos that are like this, that's fine. I want to know it. Is it going to change what I do? Probably not. If you're like, I hate EDC videos, I wish you would never do them again. I don't do them that often, but I'll probably do them like once a year. If you're like, oh, I hate when you go camping. Sorry, I like going camping, so I'll continue to do that. But I do want to hear, like, these are my favorite kinds of videos. This is what I'd like to see more of. I try to do this like once a year to kind of keep myself connected. Granted, I read a bunch of comments. I have a Patreon where every month I do a live video that's kind of like this, but it's interactive. So all of my patrons are talking to me and giving me feedback. I'm asking them questions, they're letting me know, and I'm kind of just decompressing. Really, those Patreon lives that I do once a month are they're like if I had a therapy, if I went to therapy, for instance, that would be like what I'm doing on Patreon. So I'm like, I talk about my frustrations, and I talk about my stresses, and I talk about my personal life, and I talk about what's going on in the future of the channel. I ask them what they liked about this, what they think about this idea, and they give me feedback real time on live, and I really like that. So this is kind of what that is, but on a much, I'm not getting feedback from you guys, but I'm hoping to get feedback in the comments down below. Okay, turning into straight up rambling. Have some fun content for you. Again, the F-250, that'll be in my possession in a week or so. I'll get much more into that. But a company, Diamondback Truck Covers, we've been kicking around this idea for a while. They pulled the trigger, got on board. It's gonna be awesome. I'm very excited about it. Last weekend I was up in Montana visiting some friends, have some friends at GFC, Go Fast Campers. They had a new product release that they wanted to show me. So I went there, checked out their facilities, checked out their product. I'll be releasing a video on that stuff in probably about a week. And then I hung out with Clay and his wife Rochelle from Expedition Overland, which if you haven't watched them, you should. So I kind of did a shop tour because I bought a new property. I'm going to build a shop, nothing like theirs. Theirs is crazy, but that's kind of a shop that maybe I'll aspire to someday. But talked with them, hung out. Clay's kind of almost like a mentor figure to me. He's doing very cool, incredible stuff, much different than what I do. But it was good to hang out with him and his wife and just talk shop. And then we did a walk around of his. He has an FJ62 and he has a 3rd gen 4Runner. So those videos are coming to the channel as well. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up. I hope you get subscribed if you're not already. And again, leave comments. And also, I mean, if you like what I'm doing on the channel and you want to see more of it, do stuff that helps YouTube. It's so annoying when they say it, but it's true. Like thumbs up the video, share the video, save, bookmark it, send it to friends, whatever. All that stuff that helps grow channels. And I'm not just talking about my channel. if you like a YouTuber, but you always watch their content signed out, or you're signed in, but you never hit that like button, you never comment, just like it. Comment, say, I really like this video, I appreciate your time. Talk about something specifically in the video that you liked, like, oh, I liked your blue shirt, that was really cool. Whatever, that kind of stuff helps give feedback to the content creator that they're doing stuff that you like to see, and then it helps them. They're pouring tons of time and stress and blood, sweat, tears, all that stuff into creating content for you guys. So the least you could do is just hit that thumbs up button. Yeah, and that, I mean, that goes for me, but for all of the creators that you like. Okay, I think that sums it up, guys. Until next time, take care.